The great hall of the Yalari Empire looked like a silver cathedral from another world. Tall pillars rose to the high ceiling, glowing with shifting patterns of light created by strange alien crystals. Every sound echoed softly, as if the room itself listened. In the center of the hall stood Darren Holt, a human engineer who never imagined he would be facing an entire alien command council. He felt small in the giant room, but he tried to stand tall even while his heart beat faster than he wanted to admit. Around him stood dozens of Yalari warriors, each one tall, strong, and dressed in shining armor made from a metal no human had ever seen before. They were known across several systems as fearless and strict, and they rarely showed emotion. Their armor hid almost everything: faces, expressions, even body language, so no one could ever guess what a Yalari warrior was thinking. Darren felt dozens of glowing alien eyes watching him, and it made him want to laugh out of pure nervousness. But he held the laugh in, knowing this was not a place for jokes. Except he would soon make one anyway. At the far end of the hall stood Commander Lethari. She was taller than the other Yalari, her silver armor marked with deep blue lines that showed her high rank. Her helmet covered her entire face, but Darren could see her bright silver eyes through the narrow visor. When she looked at him, it felt like she could see his heartbeat, his thoughts, and his entire life at once. She spoke in a steady voice that filled the entire room. "Human engineer Darren Holt," she said. "You saved one of our ships during a crisis. You repaired its wounded engines while your own vessel was damaged. You risked your life to help warriors of a species not your own. For this action, the Yalari Empire will reward you. You may ask for any reasonable gift within our power." Her voice was calm, but her words struck Darren like a weight. Any reasonable gift? He wasn't used to rewards. As a human engineer stationed on a small border outpost, he spent most days fixing broken parts, patching old ships, and hoping nothing exploded. He had never expected to impress an alien empire known for its strict honor laws. The hall was so quiet he could hear his own breath. Every warrior waited for his answer. He knew what humans would normally ask for: money, advanced tools, safe passage, maybe a ship upgrade. Something practical, something normal. But the pressure of so many alien eyes staring at him made Darren nervous. His mind went blank. His mouth moved before he could stop it. "What do I want?" he repeated slowly. Then, trying to break the silence with humor, a terrible habit when he was stressed, he said, "You." The word left his mouth too quickly, too lightly, like a loose bolt flying off an engine. For a moment, he didn't even realize what he had said. He only felt the silence collapse around him. The temperature seemed to drop. The glowing crystals dimmed. Every alien in the hall froze. Then it hit him. He had just said that he wanted Commander Lethari, not her help, not her respect, her. His stomach twisted. His face felt hot. He opened his mouth to fix the mistake, but not a sound came out. Yalari culture was strict about honor and requests, and he had no idea what he had accidentally stepped into. Lethari did not move. She stood absolutely still, her silver eyes fixed on him. The silence stretched. The entire hall felt frozen in time. Darren's heart beat loudly enough that he wondered if they could hear it. Finally, Lethari stepped down from her platform. Her movements were slow and deliberate. Darren braced himself for anger or a cold lecture or maybe even punishment. He had heard that some alien species took such comments as disrespect, but Lethari didn't sound angry when she spoke. Her voice was calm, almost thoughtful. "You choose me," she repeated quietly. "Is that your request?" Darren's voice jumped out of him in panic. "No, yes, it was a joke. I didn't mean, The silence felt really long." He wished he could disappear into the floor. He hoped someone would laugh to break the tension, but Yalari never laughed. Not in public, at least. Lethari looked down at him for a long moment. Then, to Darren's confusion, she reached up and touched the plate of armor over her chest. Her blue-tinted fingers slid along its edge. The warriors around the hall reacted immediately. Their bodies stiffened. Some leaned forward. Some whispered urgently to each other in their own language. Darren blinked. "Wait, what? What are you doing?" But Lethari did not answer him. Instead, she lifted the chest plate free from her armor with a slow, graceful movement. The metal piece separated with a soft click, revealing a lighter inner layer beneath. She held the chest plate in her hands for a moment, almost like she was holding something precious. Then she gently placed it on the polished floor in front of her. The hall gasped. Even Darren could hear the shock, and he didn't even know the cultural meaning behind it. Lethari continued removing pieces of armor, forearm guards, shoulder plates, outer armor of her legs. She did not rush. Every movement was calm and precise, like a ritual. The tall, emotionless alien warriors stared at her with disbelief. Some looked as if they were witnessing something impossible. Others looked afraid. Darren had never felt so confused in his life. "Commander," he whispered, I didn't mean it. I didn't actually want you to." "I know," she said softly, interrupting him with perfect calm. Her voice was no longer echoing or formal. It sounded almost human in its gentleness. "But your words revealed something more than a joke. You spoke without fear. You did not ask for power, wealth, or protection. You asked for connection, even if you meant it lightly." Darren shook his head quickly. No, really. I didn't ask for anything serious, I promise. I don't want to cause trouble." Lethari looked at him as if she didn't understand why he felt the need to apologize. She rested one unarmored hand against her other wrist, a gesture that seemed delicate for a warrior. "In my culture," she said, "a Yalari warrior removes armor for only 2 reasons." She paused, letting the meaning settle in the air. "Surrender or trust." He stared at her, stunned. "And you're not surrendering?" "No," she said simply. "I do not surrender." Her glowing eyes held his for a moment, and he felt a strange warmth move through his chest. He didn't know whether to run, faint, or stand still. He had never been the center of anyone's trust, especially not a towering alien commander whose armor was more valuable than his entire ship. Behind Lethari, several Yalari warriors murmured loudly, "She cannot do this for a human. This is unprecedented. She shows vulnerability. She sees something in him." Darren wanted to hide under the nearest table. Lethari ignored all of them. She stepped closer to Darren, still taller than him, even without her armor. Without the metal plates, her movements appeared smoother, almost elegant. She stopped just a few steps away, close enough that he could feel the gentle warmth from her body. "You changed the room with one sentence," she said quietly. "A human stood before the Empire and spoke boldly. I felt no insult. I felt curiosity." Darren swallowed hard. "You shouldn't be curious about me. I'm just an engineer. I fix things that people break. That's it." Lethari tilted her head slightly. "You do not see what others see." "I see I made a huge mistake," he muttered. "A mistake," she repeated softly, "can also open a hidden door." He didn't know what she meant, but she continued before he could ask. "You saved my warriors without asking for anything. You spoke honestly when many would have lied. You asked for something impossible, not out of arrogance, but out of pure human strangeness." Her voice softened even more. "So I will grant your request." Darren felt his heart stop. "No, please don't grant that request. It wasn't real." "Then let it become real," she said quietly. He stared at her as if she had spoken another language. She lifted one hand, slowly, carefully, and placed it over her heart, the place where her armor had once been. "A Yalari warrior now stands unarmored before you," she said. "You may walk beside me. You may learn who I am without metal or shield. This is the honor I give you." Darren felt the weight of her words settle around him. He didn't know if he deserved the trust she was offering. He hadn't meant to start anything. He hadn't meant to change anything. But he could not run from this moment. The Empire was watching. Lethari was watching. And for the first time, he saw that her silver eyes were not cold at all. They were searching, open, and strangely gentle. The hall remained in stunned silence. A human had spoken one careless joke, and the strongest commander of the Yalari Empire had taken off her armor for him. Everything in Darren's life was about to change. The day Commander Lethari removed her armor spread through the Yalari fleets faster than any official announcement. News traveled through ship channels, scout relays, and soldier reports. Every warrior who heard the story reacted with disbelief. Some called it impossible, some called it dangerous, and others whispered that something important had changed in their empire. But Darren Holt did not think about any of that. He was too busy trying to understand what had just happened to him. He kept replaying the moment in his mind as he walked beside Lethari down the long silver corridor that led out of the great hall. The alien walls shimmered gently, reflecting their steps like soft waves. Darren felt lightheaded, as if he was inside a dream he couldn't escape from. Lethari walked calmly, with her unarmored hands clasped behind her back, completely unbothered by the confused stares of her warriors. He whispered to her, trying not to disturb the silent march around them. "Commander, you didn't have to do what you did." She looked at him without slowing her steps. "I did it because I chose to." "That's what worries me," he muttered under his breath. She stopped walking and turned to face him fully. The silver corridor lights reflected off the smooth surface of her skin, giving her an almost gentle glow. Without her armor, she seemed more alive, more expressive, more readable. Her silver eyes softened a little as she studied his nervous expression. "You think honesty is something to fear," she said calmly. "No," he said quickly, though it wasn't fully true. "I'm just not used to being the reason an alien commander breaks a sacred tradition." "I broke nothing," she replied gently. "I opened a door." He blinked. "A door to what?" "That is what we will discover." Before he could ask what that meant, one of her lieutenants approached and saluted her sharply. "Commander, the Council requests a private briefing regarding your unexpected action." "It can wait," she said immediately. The lieutenant hesitated. "Commander, they are insisting." Lethari straightened her back. Her voice did not rise, but it became sharper, stronger. "The Empire does not control my actions. I will join the human engineer until I decide otherwise." The lieutenant stepped back, stunned. Yalari commanders rarely defied the Council in public. Lethari did it without even raising her voice. She turned back to Darren and motioned for him to continue walking. Darren felt dozens of eyes on him as they left the hall together. He tried not to look embarrassed, but he felt like a tiny creature being observed by giant animals who didn't know what he was. He was aware that he was the only human in the room, and suddenly, the most talked-about one in the entire empire. The moment they reached the docking bay, everything became even more uncomfortable. A group of Yalari officers gathered near the main exit, whispering quietly. Their glowing eyes followed Lethari as she walked past them without armor. Some looked confused, others shocked, and a few looked almost afraid. Lethari ignored all of it. Darren finally reached his own small human shuttle parked at the far end of the bay. It looked tiny compared to the sleek, silver-blue Yalari ships nearby. Human technology always looked simple next to alien craft. The edges weren't as smooth, the lights weren't as impressive, and everything was built with practicality, not beauty. "This is your vessel," Lethari observed. "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. It's not much, but it works. She walked around it slowly, studying every bolt, every panel, every scratch, as if she was trying to understand the human mind through its machines. "It is honest work," she finally said. "I prefer this to unnecessary decoration." "Really?" he asked weakly. "Yes," she said. "Beauty without function is wasted." Darren did not feel beautiful or functional at the moment. He felt overwhelmed. He opened the shuttle door and Lethari stepped inside without hesitation. She moved gracefully through the small space, examining the simple human layout as if it were a museum exhibit. Darren followed her, trying not to panic as the door closed behind them. "You could have left," he said finally. "Your people needed you." "My people do not need me every moment," she replied. "Right now, I choose to understand the human who changed a room of warriors with a single sentence." He groaned softly. "Please don't say it like that. It makes me sound powerful. I'm not." "You are honest," she said. "That is rare." He sat down in the pilot seat, rubbing his forehead. "I wasn't honest. I was nervous and stupid." She tilted her head slightly. "Your humor hides your fear." "How do you know that?" he asked. "Because I do the same," she said quietly. That surprised him. He looked up at her, studying the soft lines of her expression. Lethari seemed calm, strong, and almost impossible to read earlier. But now she looked softer, more open, more human, in a way he didn't expect. "You hide fear?" he asked gently. She nodded. "A commander cannot show weakness. Armor protects more than the body. It hides uncertainty, confusion, emotion." "So taking it off was a big deal?" "It was a decision," she corrected. "A decision I do not regret." He looked at her carefully. "Why me?" Her silver eyes met his without hesitation. "Because you are not afraid of me. You treated me like a person, not a symbol or a weapon. You spoke without worrying how your words might be judged. That freedom is rare. It is something my world has forgotten." Darren felt something warm spread through him. Not romance, not yet, but something like understanding, something like respect. Something like a bridge forming between two species. "Still," he whispered, "you don't have to stay with me." "I want to," she said simply. He froze. "You want to?" "Yes," she said. "You asked for me. Whether intentionally or not, you invited a connection. I am curious to see where that path leads." His throat felt dry. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't brave. He wasn't bold. He was an engineer who fixed broken machines and said stupid things in stressful moments. But Lethari made him feel seen, in a way he didn't expect. Before he could respond, his shuttle door opened again. 3 humans entered the bay, security officers from his station. Their faces shifted between shock and worry when they saw Lethari standing unarmored in his small ship. One officer spoke carefully. "Engineer Holt, is this alien commander here willingly?" "Yes," Lethari answered before Darren could speak. "I am here by choice." The officers exchanged nervous looks. "Are we allowed to approach? You don't have your armor." Lethari stared at them calmly. "Your caution is unnecessary. I am not here to fight." The officers slowly stepped back, unsure how to respond. One whispered, "Is she bonded to you?" Darren nearly choked. "What? No! No, absolutely not!" Lethari studied him with a curious expression. "Bonding is not a simple process," she explained, "but trust must begin somewhere." The officers left quickly, clearly overwhelmed. When they were gone, Darren sighed and sat down heavily. "Great," he muttered. "Now my whole station is going to think we're in some kind of relationship." Lethari stepped closer to him. "Are we not?" His eyes widened. "No, I mean, we just met. And my request wasn't real, it was a joke to break the silence." "I understand," she said softly. But your joke opened a door that cannot be closed, so now we walk forward. Together, if you agree." He felt his voice catch in his throat. "Why me?" he whispered again. She looked at him with an expression he had not seen before, something like vulnerability, but also strength. "Because I see something in you that my world does not teach. You act from instinct, not fear. You help without expectation. You speak with heart, even when you make mistakes." She paused gently. "And I wish to understand that." He stared at her, unable to speak. Lethari stepped closer, her presence calm and steady. "I will travel with you to your human station. I will learn your world. I will observe your people, and I will see what your joke truly meant." He almost smiled. "It meant nothing." She shook her head. "Nothing can change a life. So can everything." She placed one unarmored hand on the seat beside him, not touching him, but close enough to feel the warmth.